What is going on, everyone, and welcome to r/EntitledParents. Today's video has two classic Entitled stories that you're going to absolutely love, so sit back, relax, and let's jump straight into the first one. Between them, my parents ruined 3 batches of chili. Yesterday was a co-worker's birthday, and they asked me if I could make them some of the turkey chili, like the kind I made for our 4th of July office party, and they reminded me not to add carrots because they were allergic to it, and not to make it too spicy. So, I bought enough for 2 batches, serves 12 each. 1 batch for my co-worker and the other for my family. For the first 2 batches, I tried using the slow cooker, but for the second 2, I had to use the stove to make it quicker. First batch, I walked out of the kitchen to let it cook. I came back when it was about done to find my parents dipping their spoons into the chili, as in they dunked their spoons into it, ate off said spoons, and used the same spoons to get another spoonful. Ooh, germs. Well, I can forgive them for that. So, second batch. My mum asked if I was going to put carrots into it, and I told her no. In fact, I told her twice, no carrots. She was chopping up vegetables while I went to the bathroom. I come out, I checked the chili, she added the veggies with carrots. They were cut so small I couldn't even scoop them out. I was upset and calmly asked my mum why she added carrots. She answers, because the recipe called for carrots. I reminded her that my co-worker was allergic. I told her twice, in fact. She tilts her head one way a bit, half closed her eyes, straight-lined mouth, and a light shrug. I didn't hear you say it. I freaking hate it when she says that. When she does that stance and say it like she said it, I know for a fact that she heard me. She just brushes what I said right off, and there was no way to argue with her without it turning into a yelling match. Okay, well, I had a little over 2 hours before work at this point, so I made a run to the store to get what I needed to make 2 more batches. I cook it all on the stove rather than the slow cooker. So then, third batch. It is a tradition on my dad's side of the family that every 30 years, a member is allowed to learn a secret recipe for some kind of Mexican mystery sauce. It's a sweet and spicy concoction that is so dang good, but it really brings out the heat if you put it in with any other hot items. One of my dad's great nephews got to learn it, and he sent dad a container of it. My dad thought the chili was too bland and told me that maybe my co-worker would like it to be a bit hotter. I told my dad that it was hot enough and that I know how to make it. But dad gets the sauce anyways and puts it into the chili while I walked off to get ready for work. I come back to taste test it and it was disgusting. It was far too sweet and did not blend well with what was in there, and it was so dang hot, tears were coming down my face. Dad kept insisting that it was perfectly fine, even though he could barely eat a spoonful himself. I dumped it into a container and just gave it to him. Now for the 4th batch. At this point in time, I had less than an hour to cook it, so I cooked everything into separate pots and tried to mix it together. I forbade my parents from coming into the kitchen while I worked. I told them both that neither one is allowed anywhere near the kitchen until I was out the door. They were upset with me over this. They just wanted to help, but I didn't trust either of them. I managed to get it into a container and out the door into my car. I came back in and rushed to get ready, spraying down the inside of the pots and pans I use with soap, and told my folks to leave them so I can clean them when I get home. My mum was furious and told me that I should clean up that mess before work. I pointed out that because of her and dad, I didn't have time to do it. I came home from work to find that my dad cleaned the dishes and mum tried to make me feel so guilty for that. I pointed out to her that between the 2 of them, they ruined 3 batches. My dad did apologise, but my mum was stuck on stubborn and refuses to admit that she was wrong. Well, at least the 4th batch turned out alright. My co-worker ate some there and really liked it. In the end, it was worth the fuss to get a smile out of them. To be fair, the kid ended up eating half of the batch in one sitting. Well, that is good news that at least you got your cooking done in the end and that the person you gave it to, your co-worker, enjoyed it a lot. But to be honest, I mean, I don't really mind the entitled parents. That's not the worst thing about this story. The worst thing in my opinion is the wasted food. 3 batches of chili that serves how many people? 2 people, did you say? Maybe even 12? No, serves 12 each. I mean, that is a bit ridiculous. So you've wasted about what? 18 portions then? 18 portions of food because of your entitled parents. That's ridiculous. I mean, come on. I mean, I don't even know why they're getting involved in the first place. Fair enough, they want to help. But if you're helping the cook in the kitchen, then do what they say. Don't be going adding your own sauce or your carrots and stuff when they told you not to. Come on, is that hard? Entitled Mum disses COVID movie experience after trying to cheat her way into a discount. I work at a movie theatre and we recently reopened with new policies to battle against COVID. Required wearing of face masks, restrictions on cash transactions, blocking off seats for social distancing, etc. I understand the changes are big, but most guests understand we're just trying to avoid spreading the coronavirus as best we can. We even have a few special deals and offer face masks to those who forgot or don't have an adequate one. Then there's people like this. I was at box office and a group of 2 adult women and 3 teenage girls came up. One of them had a Trump 2020 mask, which I will admit made me skeptical. I'm part of the LGBTQ community and a liberal feminist, but they were all wearing CDC approved masks, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Plus, we're not allowed to discriminate based on guests' political views. I smiled, yes, even under the mask, and gave the usual "how may I help you" spiel. The woman paying, I assumed, was the mum of at least one of the teens, entitled mum, and she asked for 5 tickets for 2 adults and 3 children. Now my skepticism was back. At our theatre, we count our children as ages 2 to 12, and these teenage girls look like they could be in high school, 13 at the very least. I politely asked for their ages, and the entitled mum responded 12. I asked, all of them? The entitled mum pointed to 2 of them and said, they are, she's not. Of course, I had no way of proving that, as 12-year-olds don't normally carry IDs, and some girls of course mature faster than others, myself included. So I just accepted that answer and rang them up as 3 adults and 2 children. It's really mostly for R-rated movies we're strict about age. I know it might have seemed rude to ask, but you wouldn't believe how many people try to get away with saving a couple of bucks by buying children tickets, even if they are adults. If only that had been the only issue. The entitled mum then gives me a readmit pass for one of the tickets, which we sometimes give to guests if there is a technical issue or a fire alarm and they have to leave in the middle of their movie. Since we've been closed for several months and the pass looks really worn, I checked the expiration date on the pass in case it had expired during our time of closing, which would mean I'd have to get a new pass for her. But the pass had expired in January 2019, last year. If it had been, say, in July 2020, I would have replaced the pass. But that pass had expired a year before COVID had even begun. I explained this to the entitled mum, and she said if I'd known it had expired, I wouldn't have bought it. She hadn't bought it. As I'd said, this was a pass we gave out as compensation. This meant she hadn't been to the movies in almost 2 years. Plenty of time to get the movie for that pass. She was actually pretty accepting of this and bought the tickets, but I suppose the aggravation was slow growing, as about 5 minutes later I heard yelling from the concession stand. The concessionist told me later that the entitled mum had been complaining about us discontinuing the popcorn refills to reduce the spread of people's germs that get in their used popcorn tins. And this was after the entitled mum had already been granted a free large popcorn, which we offered to our members for their birthday, but extended it to those whose birthdays had passed during the pandemic closing. Mind you, we'd also greatly reduced our popcorn and drink prices to compensate for the lack of free refills. She could have just bought another popcorn for $5. A couple hours later, the entitled mum stormed out of her theatre, shouting that famous line, "May I speak to the manager?" Fortunately, or unfortunately, the manager was right with me, and the entitled mum went off on how there was something wrong with your drink machine, and the Coke tastes funny, and the popcorn wasn't fresh. Terrible movie experience coming back. I'm sending a letter to corporate. We all explained our previous encounters with her to the manager, but we checked the drink and popcorn machines anyway and found nothing wrong with them. But after her behaviour at the box office and concessions, I wouldn't be surprised if she was just trying to get some kind of compensation for certain things not going her way. I know we're going through a difficult time right now, but that's why these policies are in place, so we can have some semblance of normalcy and still stay safe. To her and her family's credit though, they did keep their masks on the entire time. Oh, this is a real shame the way she acted. I guess this entitled mum just doesn't understand that, entertainment industry, hospitality industry, and places like, cinemas, gyms, that sort of stuff, hotels, have been really badly hit by the coronavirus more than pretty much any other industry, because the entertainment sector has been completely torn down because obviously, COVID rules. So, I mean, what OP is actually saying in here about all the different things that, the cinema has done to make sure that people can come back and enjoy the movies, and also taking down the price prices of things as they understand, you know, that coronavirus is a thing and the experience isn't going to be exactly the same, and allowing, you know, free popcorn if your birthday happened to be between March and July or whatever lockdown was in this area. That is mad. I mean, the amount of money they're probably losing on that is still quite a lot, on top of all the money they must have lost on rent and you know, fixed costs during the coronavirus pandemic when the cinema was closed. Yet still you get people like this that just complain about the smallest little things. This entitled mum just must not understand the hardship of being in the entertainment industry during the pandemic. I mean, that's all I can think. But at least she wore a mask. That is one thing, I guess. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Entitled Parents. I really hope you have enjoyed this one. If you did, and you want more straight away, well, good thing for you is I've got one video on screen right now. It's one of my best videos of the past couple of weeks, so you better click on it. It's more Entitled Parents. Also, if you are new around here, make sure to hit that button right now and turn notifications on. Stay subscribed because, you know, I've got videos coming up every single day. And yeah, they're top quality and you don't want to miss them. So with that being said, I will see you tomorrow with a brand new upload. Peace.